All right, welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Here we go. Another installment of the cinematography series. This is part 6, and today we're talking about keeping a mood. This is where we look at Patreon supporters' footage. Every week, someone sends in a project, and we're looking at different things about that project: the lighting, the lensing, the framing, how many people they had to work with, the crew, things they had to overcome. And we're talking about that in a live stream that coincides with the big podcast, the Wandering DP podcast. And in this little snippet, we're talking about keeping the mood and how to set the blacks in your shots and how to maintain that over an entire project. So we're going to be looking at a few specific shots, the lighting that was used, the camera that was used, all of that sort of stuff. And going from there, we're going to try and break down how we could have done better or why this was a successful shot. So hopefully you enjoy. If you want to see the full live stream, go over to patreon.com/wanderingdp, and you can see all of our past live streams with all the past breakdowns. You can get the exclusive podcast that we put out each and every week for Patreon supporters, and all the PDF templates, the lighting documents. All that stuff happens over on Patreon. So many thanks for the support, and hopefully you enjoy this small glimpse into the live stream. Let's look at some of our images here. I'll just flip through them so we can quickly see exactly what we're going to be looking at. Where are you? So here we are. Let's start at that one, actually. This is man tying shoes. This is all about football players. They're racing around. They're having a gay old time. I didn't actually listen with the volume on. I just went through and looked at the images. So this is the kind of stuff that we're going to be looking at. And it looks pretty cool. First off, Nick, if you're out there, I think good job. I think the shadow density is nice throughout the project. I think the frames are interesting. I think a lot of the lighting, especially with the amount of crew that you had, was really, really good. And yeah, so I would say first up, congratulations. Now, let's start here. Good things. We got some really good things here. This is the easy stuff. First thing you'll notice, first thing that pops out to me is the reflective light on the ground. So you got this, you got this. You got this shoe, which is looking nice. Then you got this and this. Just enough highlight to combat the shadows, right? Because the darks would not be dark if you didn't have the pops of light. So really, really good. The framing choice is great as well. You're shooting into the light. Imagine being around on the front side of this and looking back in. It wouldn't be near as interesting. This would all be super flat. You'd have very little shadow. And I think this is a good example, the entire piece of keeping a mood throughout. There were some sprinklings of shots that maybe didn't fit the mood, but keeping a mood throughout and keeping it consistent, all by choice of light angle, all by just dictating this is the way that we're going to shoot, would then dictate the density of the shot and then carry it through the entire project. So I think a really good example of doing some good stuff. So this one, easy. You're going to run across this shot if you're a cinematographer, probably 20 times a year, where you're having to do some close-up in a spot with not a lot of light, with not a lot of crew, with not a lot of people. What's the easiest way to get there? Put the light over here, which is an LS1, an aperture light according to Nick, even if it isn't. You put the light over there, you put the blacks over here, and you shoot into the light, looking to get these little hits here, these little hits here, these little things in this zone. I just started up Siri for some reason. So I would say here, awesome job, keeping it very nice and easy. Okay, and that's going to do it for another episode of the cinematography series. Check back for next week. We're going to have more of these coming out. It's going to be 2 each and every week going forward, so hopefully you enjoy this. If you want more of this content, again, the entire hour-long live stream is over on Patreon, patreon.com/wanderingdp, and make sure you check out the big podcast as well, which is the Wandering DP podcast. All right, we'll see you in the next one.